Han ikke her for å ordne med salget, jeg trodde jo det, ja, men ja, nå har vi sett prosjekt.
Joachim Trier, good morning.
Good morning.
Your new film, Sentimental Value, is in competition in Cannes. We must say that it's a new chapter in your study of human emotion through time and ages, and it's probably your most personal and ambitious film to date. Where does the starting point of the film start? When did you get the idea to tell this story?
We have a kind of a technique by now, Eskil Vogt and I, when we start writing together. This was the 6th time we made a script together, and the first part of writing process is sitting in a room every day from 9 to 5, getting rid of the external view. Coming off of Worst Person in the World, Julie à 12 chapitres, there was a lot of expectations, and we thought, okay, so it's almost like therapy, just talking a lot about life and where we are, cinema. So 2 things happen. One is themes from where we are right now come up, and then of course cinematic ambitions. And we knew we wanted to do something very tender and human somehow. And I also had this wish to work with Renate and to make a family story around her. And something about reconciliation came up, something gentle. Yeah, I think those were the early moments.
Hva sa du?
Nei, det jo en bra ting da egentlig, men han skal lage film igjen.
Hvilket prosjekt da?
Det det han snakket med deg om.
Min film? Den han skrev til meg?
Ja, den du ikke ville spille I.
Can we say that Sentimental Value is maybe your most autobiographical film, in a way?
Yes, in a way. I mean, I think all my films are personal in different ways. But I think, yes, I come from a family. We've had things to reckon with since, my grandfather was a resistance fighter in the Second World War, and it was a big trauma in our family to reconcile the past. And I didn't realize when I was younger, when all of the people that remember the war started passing away, I started getting this anxiety of... There are a lot of heroic war stories, but the aftermath. And then when I had my own children, I wondered what would transfer to them. How do I convey history to them? How you have a responsibility to remember and a responsibility to forget. You have a responsibility not to transfer the trauma of things, but also you have a responsibility to learn. And I think in this moment in history, I feel this is a theme. And even though my film is about small things in a family, that was an undercurrent in the theme that we wanted to talk about.
Men fikk jeg penger til det?
Ja, han må jo det da. Han sa ikke så mye, jeg tror kanskje han ville si det selv. Han spurte om du kom til å være her.
Okay.
Your film shows a prominent father figure, bigger than life, wonderfully acted by Stellan Skarsgård. Well, it's also about family, but were you inspired by different kind of directors, or did you want to how did you write this character?
I mean, to be honest with you, I had Stellan in mind, and I talked to him before we finished the script, so I kind of wrote up against the canvas of someone with charisma and warmth, so I could make the father, at times, really quite self-centered and annoying. He's a bit of an asshole, but he's a funny asshole, huh? But at the same time, I knew I needed to make him 3-dimensional. So which directors? I mean, in a way, we invented Gustav Borg. You could say there's a bit of punk, Lars von Trier. There's a bit of humanism from Jan Troell. There's a bit of Kieslowski's poetry and the plan séquence that we understand that he does with all his films. So I don't know, it's different people of that generation in the 80s and 90s. But a humanist. The paradox of a director. I was interested in the paradox of a director who could see people in his movies and be very complex, and then in social life, the social language, be quite unable to be close to the people around him. I find that paradoxical with art and artists sometimes.
Er det han?
Ja.
As always in your film, the city and spaces play a very important part, and more particularly, of course, the family house.
Sure.
That contain memories through different generations. Sometimes in the film, we have the feeling that the story is told by the point of view of the house.
Yes.
And the house is a true character of the film. How did you manage to visualize that and to direct that in a way?
First we wrote a version of the script, then I found the house, and then we rewrote it for that specific house. So everything needs to be specific, but the house became a material that we could work with. Let's do a comparison. In Oslo, August 31st, I used the city as a material, almost for a journey of a character, and I knew the spaces had different moods. In this house, I made it more intimate, and I tried to do a similar thing where, to be very simple, spatial treatment in cinema is a fundamental part of what we do. If you don't care about it, it will still be at play. So why not really take it into consideration? The repetition of spaces. I looked at a lot of Uzu films. The idea of the repetitions of shots, but I don't have the staticness that he has, you know, that I adore in him, you know, that's his style. So we're doing repetitions of movements, almost like a little bit of a choreography through the house. And that became interesting to me. I always try to be able to make films that are about everyday, quite normal people. I need an existential perspective cinematically to try to give the audience a space for a bigger thought. And the house is somehow a perspective of time, I think, how quick it moves. Maybe this is my midlife crisis movie where I say, you know, time moves so quick.
Shit, er ikke det den der Rachel Kemp?
When I saw the film, I thought a lot about Bergman. I think it's a very Bergmanesque film. What is your relationship with the cinema of Bergman?
For Scandinavian directors to speak about Bergman, it's a big subject. But I will say this, his cinema has meant a lot to me. What I have taken most from Bergman, I think, in terms of inspiration, is the close-up. The gaze on the other, the faces, the gaze of intimacy on the other, and the paradox in Bergman, the ruthlessness of intimacy, yet you cannot reach the other. And in this film, I'm negotiating that question a lot. I'm not someone who comes from theater. I come from skateboarding, music, punk, hip-hop. I come from cinema. Before I could write, I was filming with cameras. So I don't come from theater at all. So for me to enter into that world was very interesting, and I learned a lot. But it's not just a homage to Bergman. I think theater's genuinely interesting.
Hallo, du, Nora. Du, nå.
Like The Worst Person in the World, this film is also about interaction between life, society, and art and creation, the position of the artist in our world today. Did you want to show in your film in a way the reconciliatory power of art?
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good question. Let me try to speak to it. In French, you have this beautiful distinction between parole and langue. So in the spoken word of the everyday, in family life, it comes to limits. Things get polarized, things get argumentative. In art, there's this freer space of a language which is another language, and it's absolutely something I believe truly in. And it's a language of non-conclusiveness. If it's good art, that interests me. The reconciliating powers of non-polarizing openness to interpretation, emotional freedom. Language can also inhibit emotion, and the integration of emotion in art is very interesting. When I look at my young children, you know, my oldest daughter is 4, and my youngest is 1. They dance, they sing. Art is not there for any other reason than we do it. It is an expression. My youngest daughter cannot speak yet, but she dances, she moves, she sings, she has a voice. All this stuff, I think we learn as a child what art could be. It's that other path we don't take when we enter into the spoken language of society in a way. So there's a hope there, and I'm dreadfully worried about the world right now. It's tremendously violent, tremendously polarized. Art to me is a hope. I sing a good night song to my children, and I hope that the emotions can be transferred beyond the logic of the narrative that we are being presented with right now. So maybe that sounds pretentious, but I truly believe it, my friends. So here we are.
Thank you very much, Joachim.
Thank you, Olivier.
Congratulations for Sentimental Value.
Thank you so much.